Rwanda remain raw. And still talking politics, Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga says there'll be a mass protest in the country if the elections scheduled for August are rigged. Analysts, however, say his comments are likely to scare Kenyans who are fearful of a repeat of the widespread violence that erupted after a disputed poll in 2007. More than 1,200 people were killed in weeks of fighting after political protests turned into ethnic clashes. But the 2013 polls, when Odinga accepted the results after a court ruling, passed relatively peacefully. Concerning the forthcoming election, Mr. Odinga says multiple people have been registered to vote with the same identity card in a registration period that just ended. But the government says Mr. Odinga is simply trying to discredit the voting process early to lay the ground for challenging the results on the streets. The Human Rights Watch says a rebel group in the Central African Republic killed at least 32 civilians and captured a number of fighters after clashes with another rebel group in December 2016. The rights group is concerned that the killings took place as part of MINUSCA, the UN peacekeeping mission in the Central African Republic. According to Human Rights Watch, the killings reportedly took place on December the 12th in Bakala, a town in the southern central part of the country. The rights group says rebels from the Union for Peace in the Central African Republic killed 25 people after calling them to a school for an alleged meeting. Earlier that day, the HRW says the group killed 7 men who were returning from a nearby gold mine. The C.A.R. has been struggling to recover from chaos after going through nearly 3 years of civil war, which broke up following a coup in 2013. And elsewhere, a top United Nations official in Guinea-Bissau, Modibo Ibrahim Toure, has called for the structural causes of instability to be addressed. The Security Council heard a briefing from Mr. Toure, who appealed to the whole political class to ensure that all partisan considerations are put aside and to place national interest first, and foremost so as to focus on the real issues in the country. Mr. Toure adds that the Conakry Agreement remains the framework for any effective and sustainable resolution of the current political crisis in the country.
Breakthrough in the political dialogue would remain short-lived if the structural causes of instability are not addressed. It will therefore be critical for all national actors to implement strictly the provisions in the Conakry Agreement. Conakry, Mr. President, remains the framework for any effective and sustainable resolution of the current political crisis.
Local authorities need to put the best interest of the nation above all other considerations. The message that we bring today is simple. All parties must swiftly agree on concrete steps that will enable the implementation of the 6-point roadmap and the Conakry Agreement.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Human Rights Office has launched an appeal for $253 million to enable the UN's human rights arm to contribute to important institutional and policy advancements across every region of the world. Human Rights Commissioner Zaid Ra'ad Al Hussein says the regular budget of the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights largely fails to fund Human Rights Council's mandated work. Mr. Zaid is hoping to receive extra budgetary contributions from all states as a sign of their universal support to human rights.
It largely fails to fund Human Rights Council mandated work, let alone our extensive country-related work, which is essential that we continue to perform. We consistently have to turn down requests for support from countries because no matter how great their need, we simply cannot afford to provide the support they requested. We can counter the rising waves of hatred, xenophobia, and violence. We can advocate a broad, open, democratic space and impartial rule of law institutions in every country. We can contribute to sound governance of migration and continue to advance the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. To do this, we need to broaden our financial support base to include more member states and encourage participation from a broader range of private donors.
The International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, has appointed the former Prime Minister of Togo, Gilbert Fosson-Humbo, as its sixth president. Humbo succeeds Nigeria's Kanayo Nwanze, who has been president since 2009 and is set to take office on the 1st of April. The new president has more than 30 years of experience in political affairs, international development, diplomacy and financial management. He takes the helm of IFAD at a time when change in government priorities and the more immediate needs of humanitarian crisis threatens to divert funding away from long-term development.
I do believe that when we think about the bottom billion, when we think about the Agenda 2030, when we think about the past success of this financial institution, yes, IFAD can and should scale up its impact on rural poverty, its impact on poverty alleviation, particularly extreme poverty. We have to demonstrate that every dollar invested, we have the highest value for money.
The Libyan authorities have deported around 170 Senegalese migrants who had entered the country illegally in recent months. The deportation program, which Libyan authorities refer to as voluntary return, puts migrants on a one-way flight from Tripoli back to their home countries. The migrants arrived in Libya via the Mediterranean after their boats either capsized under severe weather conditions or were intercepted by Libya's coastal authorities. Libya has deported almost 1,000 illegal migrants since last year, and it's been helped by the European Union and the International Organization for Migration in an effort to curb illegal immigration to Europe via the North African country. Still to come on Network Africa, the Cameroon confirms a bird flu outbreak in the north. Please stay with us.